So Xiaomi has recently released their newest smartphone in the market, the Xiaomi 13T series. They are really powerful smartphones and they really have some interesting features. And the one that we're reviewing today is the Xiaomi 13T. It's their latest premium mid-range smartphone. And yes, it is powerful and it does come with a Leica camera. So how does this one perform? Well, today we're gonna review the Xiaomi 13T. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Jam of JamOnline.ph, and today, again, we're gonna review the 13T. So first, let's talk about its design and construction. So as you can see in here, we got here the glass back. We also got here some little chunky body over here, but since we got here some curves on the side, this one is easier to hold. And we also got here the rectangular camera module. As you can see in here, we got here the Leica branding over here. There's a little bit of slope over here. It's something unique that we have seen before, that slope on the side of the camera module, but yeah, not really much of a deal breaker or something that is really interesting on the smartphone. However, as you can see in here, we got here some glossy back, and it does attract some fingerprints, as you can see right now from the reflections that you can see. But yeah, I always use the jelly case that is included with the smartphone, so I really don't have a problem with that one. On the side, we got here some of the things that we need. We got here the USB-C port. It supports 67 watts fast charging. We got here the card tray. This one isn't a scratch. This one is the speaker grill. On the side, we got here the power button and also the volume rocker. And of course, at the top, we got here the IR blaster. And yeah, so nothing really interesting on this one. But we got here on the front a 144 hertz AMOLED display. It's a 6.67-inch AMOLED display, and unlike most smartphones in the market right now, they're only at up to 120 hertz, but this one is up to 144 hertz. It's a flat display, and as you can see right now, the display is really bright. It's vivid enough for most usage. And we got here some thin bezels on the side and here at the chin of the smartphone. The 6.67-inch display of the smartphone, in my opinion, is the right size for 2023. And again, even though we got here a full HD plus resolution, this one is more than enough for me. But of course, we got here the refresh rate. You can customize it if you want. You can set it at 60 hertz or up to 144 hertz. But of course, I always set it up to 144 hertz or at default mode. So this one is dynamic. So this one adjusts depending on the scenario or the way how I use the smartphone. Again, it's a nice display, and having a flat display means that this one is perfect for gaming. So this one doesn't have curves on the side. So whenever you're playing fast-paced games like let's say Apex Legends or Call of Duty Mobile, well, we don't have a curved display on that one, and you know, your fingers doesn't fall off on the side because of the curved display. This one is flat. Again, it's better, and again, there's 144 Hz refresh rate, which means that it is more responsive. Another surprising feature for the Xiaomi 13T is actually this one is IP68 water and dust resistant. So whenever you bring this one to your shower or whenever there's a sudden rain, well, you don't have to worry about this one because this one comes with a water and dust resistance. Now for the battery, let's talk about that one. So inside the smartphone is a 5,000 mAh of battery, and this one supports 67 watts fast charging. So there's 67 watts turbocharging as well on the smartphone, and it's not the fastest one that we have seen on a smartphone, but 67 watts is already fast enough to charge it in less than an hour. Charging it for 30 minutes will give you around 50 to 70% of battery, which again is enough for some people who just want to go out for a bit or for an hour and then go back again at home and charge it again. So yeah, basically 67 watts, I'm already fine with that one. Now as for the battery, this one is rated at 11 hours and 55 minutes at PC Mark Work 3.0 battery life test. And honestly, this one is just on the average side. It's not that long, it's not that short. Again, just an average one. And considering that this one has a brand new processor, an 8200 Ultra, I'm not surprised with that one. Hopefully, they could optimize it even more with updates as the time goes on. But yeah, that's the 8200 Ultra's battery. Now, speaking of the Dimensity 8200 Ultra processor from MediaTek, let's talk about the processing power of this smartphone. So the processor is quite decent. It's powerful, and inside we got here an 8 gigs of RAM with an additional 4 gigs right now, which is a virtual RAM. And then, of course, we got here 256 gigs of internal storage. This one runs on Android 13, that is based on MIUI 14. If you want, you can add more RAM to the smartphone, but I believe that 4 gig is already enough. You can even turn it off if you're not a heavy user and if you don't want to consume more memory to your smartphone. Let's talk about the benchmarks that we got on this one. So for our benchmarks, we got here a max out at a Slingshot Extreme. We also got here a score of 6,466 in Wildlife. We also got here the best loop score of 6,495 and a lowest loop score at 5,710 with Wildlife stress test. We also did a Wildlife Extreme stress test, and we got here a best loop score of 1,718 and a lowest loop score of 1,545. We also got here a Wildlife Extreme score of 1,728, and in GPU scored expedition, we got here a score of 1,752 and GPU score of Sacred Path 633. With Geekbench 6, we got here a single core score of 1,125 and a multi-core score of 3,723. Now, let's talk about those numbers. Basically, the one that we're getting with the Dimensity 8200 Ultra is actually better than the Snapdragon 778G for 5G and also the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 processor. So in its price range, we got the Dimensity 8200 Ultra competing against the Snapdragon 778G 5G chipset, also the Dimensity 7050 chipset, and also the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 processor. So out of all those processors, well, the 8200 Ultra can beat those processors. However, when we're talking about the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2, the 7 Plus Gen 2 is way better compared to the 8200 Ultra of MediaTek. However, one thing that I've noticed with the Dimensity 8200 Ultra is that the temperatures is really good and the stability when benchmarking and even when playing games on the smartphone is quite good. So this means that despite playing a longer time on the smartphone compared to other smartphones with a different chipset, the 8200 Ultra of the Xiaomi 13T is quite stable and the FPS wouldn't really drop that much as long as you get a pretty good temperature and a pretty good airflow or thermals on the smartphone. Proof of that is that we got here a really high score with the stability in the stress test on both Wildlife and also Wildlife Extreme on the smartphone. And as for gaming, we've tried different games on the smartphone. We've tried Genshin Impact, and yes, it was smooth. I've set it at the highest settings at 60 frames per second. We've also tried Honkai Star Rail on the smartphone, and both of those games were quite smooth on the Dimensity 8200 Ultra. I am not surprised, as most of the time, those games run really well on MediaTek processors. We also tried Call of Duty on the smartphone, and again, as expected, it is smooth, it is swift, and it was quite responsive. And of course, games like Mobile Legends wouldn't be a problem on this one. This one would run really smooth on those games, as those are just really light games. But yeah, it's really popular here in the Philippines. Now let's talk about the camera. So we got here the Leica camera on the Xiaomi 13T. We got here a 50 megapixel wide camera, a 50 megapixel telephoto camera with 2x optical zoom, and also a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. So what's with Leica? Well, basically it's not just branding. We also got here some really cool features on the Xiaomi 13T. So with the camera software, we got here the option to choose from Leica Authentic or Leica Vibrant. I always choose Leica Vibrant for this one as I can get better colors. And of course, we got here the Pro mode on both photo and video. We also got here the Documents video, which can record up to 4K at 30 frames per second. Of course, we got here the Portrait mode. We also got here the Night mode and some of the other features that we can expect on a smartphone. Look, it's a premium mid-range smartphone. I like the Leica branding, but it's definitely not on a flagship level. At decent lighting conditions, you can expect that the Xiaomi 13T can shoot really well on both wide and ultra-wide shots. There isn't really a problem when it comes to well-lit conditions as expected. They're sharp, they're vivid, and I actually like the dynamic range sometimes. Yes, sometimes. But at low light conditions, I noticed that it's a little bit softer than expected. And again, it's not on a flagship level when it comes to the camera. But considering its price, I wouldn't really complain with the Xiaomi 13T. And again, I do like the Leica branding on this one, and of course the Leica Authentic and the Leica Vibrant feature on this one. So yeah, I guess that's it for our review of the Xiaomi 13T. So yeah, it's a really interesting smartphone. It's in the premium mid-range segment. Compared to other smartphones in its price range, well, this one has an advantage when it comes to performance. And of course, the camera is actually decent. There's the fast charging as well. And fortunately, if you're really looking for a smartphone that is really sexy or really thin, well, this one isn't for you. But when it comes to performance, the camera, and other things, this one would do really well. Again, that's it for a review of the Xiaomi 13T. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and be sure to click that subscribe button along with that bell button to get notified of our latest videos here in my YouTube channel. So once again, I am JamOnline.ph. Thank you for watching and see you guys again in our next video.